Survivors of fires caused by PG&E years ago are still demanding the money that they're owed. And we're talking about tens of thousands of people. PG&E exited bankruptcy 2 years ago, but survivors got their settlement through a complicated new trust fund. And it is causing major delays in payment. And some people have been pushing the bankruptcy court to provide more transparency. And now, as our Brandon Ritteman explains, one survivor is formally asking the federal bankruptcy judge who oversaw the entire case to step down.
It's devastating. I'm tired of being here. I'm tired.
Eula and her daughter Renee have lived like this for 7 years in camping trailers, side by side, where their house once stood. The house burned down in the Butte fire, started by PG&E in 2015.
I mean, how much more can you screw us over? My God.
7 years. No place to get the family together, much less to expand it.
Okay, my daughter's the one to have a baby. And in her mind, how could she even think about having a baby living this way? You know what I mean? I just want PG&E to pay us our money. I want to get on with my life. I'm 65. I want to move on.
They're not the only ones. We've met survivors from multiple PG&E fires who live like this.
This outcome was unjust. That is clear, and inefficient as well.
Stanford business professor Anat Admati says the scheme to pay victims through a trust fund using shares of PG&E stock, that allowed everyone else to come out ahead of the victims.
That's not good governance.
It's important to understand financial incentives or disincentives that are affecting victims.
That's what motivated Will Abrams to call for bankruptcy judge Dennis Montali to step aside. Montali handled PG&E's first bankruptcy back in the early 2000s energy crisis, and its second bankruptcy after Will's house burned down in the 2017 Tubbs fire and PG&E's crimes that destroyed Paradise. Will's not a lawyer, but he's been active in the case, trying to get details about the victims' trust and the financial interests of the people involved with it.
All of those motions to create more transparency within the case have been denied.
Will's formal motion accuses Judge Montali of failing to disclose a long-time relationship with a pair of fire victims who he gave special rights in the bankruptcy, rights to reject their settlement offers, given to just 5 out of the nearly 70,000 fire victims. Will found evidence that 2 of them had prior relationships with the judge, hosting Judge Montali for a delightful evening of wine tasting a decade earlier. We asked Judge Montali to comment. His staff said he can't comment on a pending case.
I am very concerned about how victims have been treated within this case and the amount of critical information that has been kept away from them so that other parties can advance their own financial interests.
PG&E's settlement is taking so long, Eula and Renee have one friend who didn't live to see it.
He died in the hospital. He didn't get his money.
On paper, PG&E no longer owes these people. It discharged its fire damages to the trust fund. But the victims see this as PG&E's mess to clean up. And if she wants to see how messy it is, CEO Patty Poppy has an open invitation to sleep one night here.
Come here. Yes,
they went last night. Okay?
You are more than welcome. Come here, Patty.
Now, PG&E's PR folks have repeatedly told us the company's working to make it right and make it safe. But the fact is, PG&E started back up paying dividends to some of its investors, and it resumed donating millions of corporate dollars to California politicians from both parties this year. Meantime, as you just saw, the worst-off victims of PG&E's fires are living hand to mouth, and they've watched the company spark more big fires year after year. That's not the reason that the bankruptcy judge is being asked to step down, but it is the ground he's standing on and the reality, Alex, of the deal that he has overseen.
And has anyone gotten paid the money they're owed?
not fire victims. Some parties have. We're talking about, the bigger claim holders, insurance companies, subrogation claim holders. There are all these parties that got paid 100% cash plus interest, but the victims were forced into this trust fund. And because it was paid partly in shares of PG&E stock that haven't been sold yet, it doesn't have the cash to pay out any of the claims in full. So some have gotten some money, a lot have gotten some money, but nobody's been paid outright.
And what's wild to me is that these people that are owed money, they have to hope the company does well and stock prices go up in order to get paid.
Yeah, up in Calaveras County in that Butte fire, I talked to a woman who was like, I have to root for them to do well, and I don't want them to do well. But that is the reality, because the victims became essentially 1/4 owners of the stock in PG&E. And the price has recovered some. It wasn't worth the dollar amount that victims were told their settlement was worth when PG&E got out of bankruptcy 2 years ago. It's recovered to a lot closer than that. But the reality is, if you go on the market and you just dump millions of shares, you get a supply and demand effect, and it tanks the stock price. So there was really no way that this deal was going to get the victims paid quickly. These shares have to be sold over time.
All right, Brandon, thank you so much.